Abandoned German Shepherd discovered in the woods. What happens next is unbelievable. The dense forest was silent, except for the sound of rustling leaves. Hidden between the towering trees, a lone German Shepherd stood trembling, its ribs visible beneath its thin, dirty fur. Its eyes darted nervously, scanning the darkness as if expecting danger. Then, a sudden snap of twigs. The dog flinched, its ears perking up in fear. Something or someone was out there. But just when rescuers thought they had uncovered a simple case of abandonment, the dog did something that left them completely stunned. What it was hiding in the woods changed everything. The thick forest canopy cast eerie shadows over the ground as a group of hikers made their way through the dense undergrowth. The silence was unsettling, until they spotted something unusual. Just ahead, a lone German Shepherd stood frozen among the trees, its body weak and trembling. The dog's fur was matted with dirt, its ribs pressing against its thin skin. It didn't move, didn't bark, just stared at them with haunting, tired eyes. At first, the hikers thought it might belong to someone camping nearby. But there was no collar, no sign of an owner. The deeper they looked into its expression, the clearer it became. This dog had been left here, alone, abandoned. As they stepped closer, they noticed the dog's hesitant movements. It flinched at sudden gestures, as if expecting to be struck. Its paws were scratched and raw, covered in dried mud. Evidence that it had been wandering for days, maybe weeks, searching for food and shelter. Then they saw something heartbreaking. A shallow hole near the base of a tree, where the dog had likely been digging for scraps or burrowing to keep warm at night. Nearby, there were claw marks on the bark of a tree, as if the desperate animal had tried to climb or scratch at something. But the most chilling part? The dog wasn't trying to run away. Instead, it stood still, watching them closely, almost as if it wanted them to follow. Something wasn't right, and what they discovered next changed everything. The hikers knew something was off about the German Shepherd's behavior. It wasn't just lost. It seemed to be waiting for something. Its deep brown eyes carried a mix of fear and longing, as if it had once known love, but had been cruelly ripped away from it. As they approached, the dog lowered its head slightly but didn't run. Instead, it took a hesitant step back, its tail tucked between its legs. One of the hikers knelt down, extending a hand in an attempt to gain its trust. The dog whimpered but did not growl. It was scared, not aggressive. Then, one of them noticed something half-buried beneath the fallen leaves and twigs. A strip of worn-out leather stuck out from the dirt. Digging further, they uncovered something shocking. A torn collar, frayed and dirty, with a rusted metal tag barely clinging to it. The hikers exchanged uneasy glances. Someone had once owned this dog. They brushed off the dirt, revealing faint, scratched lettering on the tag. The name was almost unreadable, but one thing was clear: the dog had not always been alone. It once belonged to someone. But why had it been left out here in the middle of nowhere? Had its owner abandoned it intentionally, or had something much darker happened? The more they examined the area, the more disturbing the clues became. Nearby, they found torn pieces of rope tangled in the roots of a tree. The ends were frayed, as if someone had tied the dog up and left it there. Had it been struggling for days to free itself? One of the hikers suddenly gasped. They spotted deep scratches in the bark of a tree, claw marks, wild and desperate. It was as if the dog had tried to climb or scratch its way out of something. Even more disturbing was the small, scattered remnants of food, a half-eaten piece of stale bread and a bone stripped of meat. Someone had left this dog here with just enough to keep it alive for a short time. But why? Was it abandoned by a cruel owner who no longer wanted it? Had it escaped from a place where it had been mistreated? Or was there something or someone it had been running from? The dog's thin body, trembling legs, and sunken eyes told a story of long suffering. It had been alone for far too long, fighting to survive in an unforgiving wilderness. And yet, it remained standing, as if it had a purpose. Then, as if sensing their concern, the German Shepherd suddenly lifted its head and turned its gaze toward the deeper part of the forest. It whined softly, then took a few hesitant steps forward, glancing back at them, as if urging them to follow. Something was still out there, and what they were about to uncover would leave them absolutely speechless. The tension in the air was almost tangible. The hikers had expected the abandoned German Shepherd to be scared and hesitant, maybe even aggressive after so much time in the wild. But instead, it was acting strangely, not running, not attacking, but leading. The dog turned toward the deeper part of the forest, its ears twitching at every rustling sound. It took a slow step forward, then another, before stopping and glancing back at them. There was something urgent in its eyes. It whined softly, lowering its head as if pleading with them to follow. One of the hikers, a woman named Emily, felt her stomach tighten. She had volunteered at an animal shelter before and recognized this behavior. This wasn't just a lost dog. It was a dog with a mission. "Guys, I think it wants to show us something," she whispered. Her companions hesitated. They had already ventured deep into the woods, far from the main trail. The light filtering through the trees was dimming, and the idea of going further into the unknown was unsettling. But something about the dog's body language made it impossible to ignore. Then, as if sensing their uncertainty, the German Shepherd let out a sharp, urgent bark. It wasn't aggressive, it was desperate. Whatever was out there, it needed them to see it. That was all the confirmation they needed. Carefully, they started following the dog as it wove through the trees, its steps weak but purposeful. Every few feet it stopped, looked back at them, and waited, making sure they were still behind. The deeper they went, the quieter the forest became. Even the birds seemed to have fallen silent. Then, out of nowhere, the dog halted abruptly. Its ears perked up, its tail stiffened. The hikers stopped too, their breath caught in their throats. Then they heard it, a faint, muffled sound, so soft they almost thought they had imagined it. But then it came again, a weak, high-pitched whimper. Emily's heart pounded as she scanned the surroundings. The sound was coming from the thick underbrush ahead. Slowly, cautiously, she stepped forward and pushed back the tangled branches and leaves. And that's when she saw them. 3 tiny German Shepherd puppies, curled up in a makeshift den, their fragile bodies trembling from hunger and cold. They were barely more than a few weeks old, their eyes open but glassy with exhaustion. Their fur was dirty, matted with leaves and dust. They were so weak that when one tried to lift its head, it wobbled and collapsed back onto its siblings. Emily gasped. The mother dog had been leading them here all along, not for herself, but for them. "Oh my God," whispered one of the hikers. "She's been protecting them all this time." The realization was heartbreaking. Despite her own starvation and suffering, the mother had refused to abandon her babies. Even when she was too weak to find food for herself, she had somehow managed to keep them hidden, to shield them from the dangers of the wild. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she knelt beside the puppies. One of them let out a tiny, pitiful squeak and stretched a paw toward her. It was a silent plea for help. But then, just as she reached out to scoop the tiny creatures into her arms, she noticed something else. A set of footprints in the dirt nearby. She froze. The tracks were fresh. Someone had been here. Recently. Her mind raced. Had these puppies really been abandoned? Or had they been left here on purpose? Was the person who did this still out there, watching them even now? A sudden chill ran down her spine as she glanced back at the mother dog. What had she escaped from? And more importantly, was the danger truly over? A wave of urgency crashed over Emily and the others as they stared at the frail puppies, their tiny bodies barely moving. The realization hit hard. They were running out of time. These little ones had been without food and warmth for too long. If they didn't act now, the puppies wouldn't make it. Emily reached down, scooping up the first puppy carefully. It was ice cold to the touch. Its heartbeat was faint, but it was still alive. "We have to get them out of here fast," she said, her voice shaking. The mother dog whined as if she understood. She nuzzled her babies weakly, but her own strength was nearly gone. She had survived only by sheer will, but now, she needed help too. One by one, the hikers gently lifted the puppies, wrapping them in their jackets to provide warmth. The smallest one let out a weak, raspy whimper before snuggling into the fabric. It was clear they were starving. Their ribs were visible beneath their thin fur. But just as they prepared to leave, a noise in the distance made them freeze. A rustling sound. Footsteps. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Was someone watching them? Was it the same person who had abandoned the mother and her puppies in the first place? She turned her head sharply, scanning the dense trees, but she couldn't see anything. Only shadows. Only the unsettling silence of the forest. "We need to move. Now," whispered one of the hikers. With the puppies secured in their arms and the mother dog struggling to walk but refusing to be left behind, they began their desperate journey back toward civilization. The path back felt longer than before. Every step was nerve-wracking. The weight of the fragile puppies in their arms, the exhaustion of the mother dog trailing behind, and the eerie thought that they might not be alone. They quickened their pace. The underbrush clawed at their legs, and their breaths grew heavier. The mother dog, though weak, kept moving, driven by the need to stay by her baby's side. Then the first puppy let out a weak cry. Emily looked down. It was moving less than before. Panic set in. They needed to get to help, and fast. "We're almost there," one of the hikers reassured, though his voice was tight with worry. They had no medical supplies, no food, no warmth. Just their determination to keep these animals alive. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the dense trees gave way to a clearing. In the distance they could see their parked vehicle, a sign of hope, of safety. But the moment they reached it, they were faced with another problem. Would the puppies survive the journey to the vet? The mother dog whimpered, nudging one of the tiny bodies as if begging it to stay awake. Emily swallowed hard, knowing this was now a battle against time. As they sped toward town, one thought consumed them all. Had they found these puppies too late? Or was there still hope? The drive to the veterinary clinic felt like an eternity. The hikers sat in silence, their hands trembling as they cradled the frail puppies wrapped in their jackets. The mother dog lay weakly in the back seat, her eyes fluttering open and shut, exhausted beyond words but unwilling to rest completely. She knew her babies were in danger, and she wasn't giving up yet. When they finally reached the clinic, the staff wasted no time. The puppies were rushed inside, placed under heated blankets, and hooked up to 4 fluids to stabilize their conditions. Their tiny bodies were dangerously malnourished, their chances uncertain. The mother dog, though barely able to stand, refused to be separated from them. Emily watched, her heart pounding, as the vet examined the mother carefully. Severely underweight, dehydrated, covered in minor injuries, likely from scavenging through rough terrain. But despite everything, her tail gave a weak wag when she realized she was safe. Hours turned into days. The battle for survival wasn't over yet. One of the puppies, the smallest and weakest one, slipped into critical condition. The vet warned that it might not make it through the night. Emily stayed by its side, gently stroking its fragile body, whispering words of encouragement. "You're not alone anymore," she murmured. "Just hold on a little longer." The mother dog, though still weak, curled herself around her babies, offering whatever warmth and comfort she could. It was a moment of pure love, a mother refusing to let go, even in the face of the worst odds. Then, just when hope seemed to be slipping away, the impossible happened. The smallest puppy, the one they feared wouldn't make it, let out the softest whimper, and then, for the first time, it opened its tiny eyes. From that moment on, the puppies began to fight back. With round-the-clock care, proper nutrition, and the unwavering love of their mother, they grew stronger by the day. Their frail bodies began to fill out. Their weak whimpers turned into playful yips, and their eyes, once dull with exhaustion, now sparkled with life. As for the mother dog, she transformed in ways no one could have imagined. No longer the starving, desperate creature they had found in the woods, she became a picture of resilience and strength. With each passing day, her fur regained its healthy shine, her energy returned, and for the first time in what must have been months, she wagged her tail. Not out of fear, but out of joy. When the time came to find them forever homes, something incredible happened. Emily, who had been there from the very beginning, realized that she couldn't say goodbye. She had come to see this dog not just as a rescue, but as family. So, with tears in her eyes and a heart full of love, she signed the adoption papers. The mother dog finally had a home, a safe, warm place where she would never have to suffer again. As for the puppies, each one found a loving family, where they would grow up cherished and cared for. The once abandoned German Shepherd had gone from a forgotten soul in the woods to a beloved pet, a survivor, and a symbol of unbreakable love. And as she lay curled up in her new bed, her eyes full of trust and peace, it was clear her story wasn't one of tragedy. It was one of hope. This story is more than just a tale of survival. It is a testament to the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children. Against all odds, this German Shepherd fought through hunger, pain, and exhaustion, refusing to give up on her puppies. Even when she had nothing left, she gave them everything she could, her warmth, her protection, and her love. Her resilience is a powerful reminder that love knows no limits. A mother's instinct to protect her young is something truly profound, whether in humans or animals. This dog, despite being abandoned, showed unwavering strength and selflessness, a lesson that touches the deepest corners of our hearts. But this story is not just about her. It's also about the kindness of strangers, the people who saw suffering and chose to act. Because of them, lives were saved. And because of the mother's love, her puppies were given a second chance. This story teaches us that every life matters. Every stray animal has a story, a past filled with pain, but also a future filled with hope. If only someone is willing to help. How many animals like this mother dog are out there, waiting for a second chance? How many are still suffering, just hoping that someone will come to their rescue? This is why it's so important to adopt, rescue, and spread awareness. You never know how much of a difference you can make in the life of an animal in need. So now we ask you, if you ever come across an abandoned or suffering animal, what will you do? Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness can create a miracle. This story is proof that love, kindness, and action can change lives. But there are still countless animals out there, waiting for their miracle. You can be that miracle. Paw Prints adopt, don't shop, give a rescue animal a second chance at life. Paw Prints support animal shelters, donate, volunteer, or spread awareness. Paw Prints report neglect and abuse. A simple call can save a life. Paw Prints share this story. Inspire others to take action and make a difference. Speech Balloon, what would you have done in this situation? Have you ever rescued an animal? Share your thoughts in the comments and let's keep this conversation going. Loudspeaker, together, we can make the world a kinder place. One rescue at a time. Red Heart, Dog Face.